A reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah. The officials said to the king, "Jeremiah ought to be put to death. He demoralizes the soldiers who are left in the city, and all the people by speaking such things to them. He is not interested in the welfare of our people, but in their ruin." King Zedekiah answered, "He is in your power," for the king could do nothing with them. And so they took Jeremiah and threw him into the cistern of Prince Malchi, which was in the quarters of the guard, leading him down with ropes. There was no water in the cistern, only mud, and Jeremiah sank into the mud. Ebed-Melech went to the gate of Benjamin from the palace and said to the king, "My lord king, these leaders have been in fault in all they have done to the prophet Jeremiah, casting him into the cistern. He will die of famine on the spot, for there is no more food in the city." Then the king ordered Ebed-Melech the Cushite to take 3 people along with him and draw the prophet Jeremiah out of the cistern before he should die. The word of the Lord.
Today's psalm response is, "Lord, come to my aid. Lord, come to my aid. I have waited for the Lord my God, and God stooped toward me. Lord, come to my aid. The Lord heard my cry, drew me out of the pit of destruction, out of the mud of the swamp. God set my feet upon a crag and made firm my steps. Lord, come to my aid. The Lord put a new song into my mouth, a hymn to our God. Many shall look on in awe and trust in the Lord. Lord, come to my aid. Though I am afflicted and poor, yet the Lord thinks of me. You are my help and my deliverer. My God, hold not back. Lord, come to my aid. Today's second reading is a reading from the letter to the Hebrews. Since we for our part are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every encumbrance of sin which clings to us and persevere in running the race which lies ahead. Let us keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, who inspires and perfects our faith. For the sake of the joy which lay before him, he endured the cross, heedless of its shame. He has taken his seat at the right hand of the throne of God. Remember how he endured the opposition of sinners. Hence, do not grow despondent or abandon the struggle. In your fight against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding blood. The word of the Lord.
May God be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "I have come to light a fire on the earth, and how I wish the blaze were already ignited. I have a baptism to receive. What anguish I feel until it is over. Do you think I've come to establish peace on earth? I assure you, the contrary is true. I have come for division. From now on, a household of 5 will be divided 2 against 3. Father will be split against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law." The Gospel of the Lord. Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." You often see that saying crocheted on wall hangings or on nice little ornamental stones in gardens or inspirational posters. What Jesus didn't say in that instance, the other side of the coin that we get to hear today, is "You shall know the truth, but first, knowing or speaking the truth may get you thrown into a well full of mud," as it does with the prophet Jeremiah. It may cause your fellow citizens to say, as they did to him, "This guy is raining on our parade. He is such a negative Nelly. He is not a team player. Keeps telling us these uncomfortable things." When people wanted Jesus to tell them only what they wanted to hear, he said, "I haven't come here to bring peace. I haven't come here to make everybody happy. I am here to cause division." He didn't just come to say nice things. The truth may set you free, but that doesn't mean that it's a light and fuzzy thing. Sometimes the truth is hard. Jeremiah is a really good figure for us to be in conversation with in our time, I think, because toxic positivity will not get us through this. Neither will glib remarks about not complaining. Jeremiah shows us that complaint about the right things, the things that matter, and refusal to say things are good when they're not, can be the signs of a mature spirituality. And Jesus in this gospel is pretty clear. People-pleasing, wanting unity at any cost, is not a gospel value and will not get us where we need to go. So I hope that these readings can both strengthen and challenge us this week, because truth is a casualty everywhere we look right now. And the more we can stand up and say it matters even when it's uncomfortable, even when part of us really doesn't want to hear it, then the more we can do this even in the small circles that we live in, this will build a bulwark against the tide eroding the truth that's happening at the national level. Every small effort is a part of that fortification. A question that comes up a lot as we're all immersed in this difficult work, this long race, as the letter to the Hebrews says, is how do I continue to have hope? Been hearing that one a lot this week. Last week in a post on social media, I mused that sometimes it feels hard to stay human and ensouled at a time like this. When you're just trying to get through, just remembering that you are a soul is often a hard task. I mused that with day after day of the smoke from the wildfires and the rise in self-focus and money being cast increasingly as the only thing that can give you any measure of security in the world as our safety net is eroded, that it feels to me sometimes like we're inhabiting a dystopian novel. And so I asked those in my sphere, those who might have read their 1984 and books like that more recently than I have, what wisdom does literature give us? Or what wisdom did people themselves had to offer? We did like a little collective brainstorming. And the responses that came back were amazing. Jim Dillon, some of you saw, gave a great gloss of Orwell's 1984 and the predictable ways that autocratic regimes do violence to language and undermine the very concept of truth or free thought. So I recommend talking with him or reading that post if you haven't already. The more we can do to preserve a good use of words and critical thinking, the better for the resistance, and this is a point that needs to be talked about more. Rashid Muhammad spoke about turning to the wisdom of those who have lived under oppression a long time. So the value for those of us who are white in listening to the voices of people and communities of color who have long dealt with this. We could add the value for those of us born into the middle class of listening to people and communities who've always been economically on the edges. Communities that by necessity have always had to depend not on money and not always on a safety net because it wasn't there. They've had to depend on each other, on neighbors, on helping each other out, on sharing. Rashid also counseled reading helpful voices like the civil rights leaders and just the everyday folks in the trenches during that time who can help us recall what it looks like to meet vitriol and hate coming at us with love. Others stress collective action like cooperative communities and just building grassroots networks, because this is our only hope, not only for influencing what may happen, but for our own not feeling alone in protesting the state of things. So all of these suggestions were great, but I also had a nagging feeling that they weren't quite getting at the question I was trying to ask. How to build a political resistance movement is a pivotal question right now. And how to remain a soul, how to keep that part of ourselves alive so that we can keep at the hard things before us for the long haul, is another slightly different question. As so often happens, help came in a sideways manner, not as a direct answer to the question I had posed, but as quiet truths that came my way shortly thereafter. One of them came from some words that a parishioner of ours, Barb Simmons, posted, not in answer to this question, but just because. Words from the poet Mary Oliver. She says, "This is what I have learned, that the world's otherness is an antidote to confusion, that standing within this otherness, the beauty and mystery of the world, out in fields or deep inside books, can redignify the worst stung heart." Perhaps hope doesn't always show up in the ways we expect. Perhaps it doesn't always require having the answer to a problem. And while sometimes it looks like standing at a protest rally or organizing or writing to a congressperson, other times it might look like stopping to just behold a dragonfly or an old tree or the wondrous complexity inside the head of a sunflower or the hairs on the head of a grandchild or the lilt of our parents' laugh. Just standing in awe before some other being and letting ourselves be taken out of our own heads into the gleam of the present moment again, and into this vaster world with its deeper cycles older than time. This is the antidote to confusion, is what Mary Oliver called it. And she's right. The second helpful piece of advice that came my way was a postcard in the mail sent to me by my pastor, the minister I grew up with. I think I've mentioned before that he is a masterful curator of postcards. The words he had chosen for this one were from Anne Lamott. "If you want to have hopeful feelings, do hopeful things. If you want to have hopeful feelings, do hopeful things." And the best part of the card was the image that it came with. The words weren't scrawled across somebody toppling a barricade. They were written across a sunflower growing from a seed. Hope is created by rallying and marching. It's also created just by planting seeds, or by painting a canvas, by singing, by walking a dog, by cooking a meal for a lonely person, by writing a letter to someone, by reading a book or listening to a piece of music that makes our heart wiser, even sometimes by going to church. You okay? Got your water? Good. If there's one thing that I hope we learn from COVID times, it's that we really need to come to church, and that coming isn't just about us either. When you have that moment, as we all do, even priests have moments like this, when the newspaper or the cup of coffee or the slippers or the comfy couch looks so appealing on Sunday morning, I hope then you'll think, I might not be feeling it right now, but someone who shares the pews with me needs me to go. A church can be a bastion of active hope, because you're surrounded by these daily happenings that keep your soul alive. I was thinking of some of the times this has happened for me over the past 4.5 years. I was thinking of evenings with Sharing for Life at Grace of God, and State of the Heart at Jennifer and Nielsen House, afternoons with the Living Room at the Mental Health Center, hanging out with the youth group and our First Communion class, baptizing little people and sometimes not so little people who wanted to dedicate their lives to God. I'm remembering times with Aaron and Lauren when we talked about friends we have in Haiti thanks to this church. Hearing tales about Chiapas and about your reading to kids in schools or sharing English conversation with refugees. Hearing about your ordinary lives and the sacred threads that illuminate them. Hearing about these at hospital bedsides and counseling sessions, over coffee, at the dinner table. Most of all, I remember daily prayers in Taylor Chapel every day, lifting up the people we were worried about or happy for or sad for. And Tuesday after Tuesday, just by showing up, testifying to the fact that people of different faiths have more in common than opposed at Emmanuel Baptist on Park Ave. And of course, I think of Thursday night Mass. Thousands and thousands of Thursdays. For me, it's been 11 years of Thursdays. Just being together at the close of the day as we set down the busyness of the hours before and arrive there just happy to be with friends and with God. If you want to feel hopeful feelings, do hopeful things. Coming here is a hopeful thing. Taking communion, what is that but an infusion of hope, literally feeding our soul? So in this long game, in this race we're running, this marathon, may we remember that hope isn't always as far away as we think it is. Instead of chasing ourselves in circles in our mind, asking where to find it, let's look for it right at our fingertips. Annie Dillard said, "How we spend our days is how we spend our lives." Look to each day, friends, as a holy gift, thousands of opportunities for hope. Because in the end, hope isn't really something we find. Hope is something we become.
Lord, you are holy. Holy is the name. Of Jesus. Oh Lord, you're holy. Holy is thy name. Imagine, if you will, the cherubim and the seraphim flying